Ladies and gentlemen, week number 8 of the NFL season has come and passed. I'm a familiar face, and today I'm in a new role as the sit-in host for one Josh Kirby, who could not make it today. So Carlos and I, we're going to hold down the fort. We're going to talk all things week 8. We got the Ravens on tap. We're going to talk some Commanders, Chiefs, and of course, as always, we're going to do our NFL pick'ems. Hit that music. Let's roll this. Let's not waste any time, as our friend Josh Kirby likes to say. I'm about to bring in a man who needs no introduction, but guess what? We supply one for him anyway. He is the back-to-back, two-time, and current defending NFL Pick'ems champion. Ladies and gentlemen, the Swiss Army knife, Carlos Martinez.
Yes, here I am.
There it is.
I have
He
arrived.
has arrived. Big man on campus.
Yep, a little under the weather still fighting off the remnants of some sickness this past weekend, but we're here,
man.
We're here.
We're here. We're tough, and we're working through it, man. Because that's what we do. That's what we do in this podcast. It's a grind.
Yeah, we don't chicken out like Kirby does. No,
or me last week.
No, you showed up and then you left in the middle of it, so it's okay. You still showed up. You tried.
Didn't get to talk about my team, but I'll have some things to say this week, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely you will, for sure. No, Kirby's on assignment on something else, on special assignment. So,
yep.
We'll hold down the fort. Yep, there. Look at that.
We'll keep his seat warm, right? We'll do what we can.
Oh yeah, maybe permanently, but you never know.
We won't. We don't have to tell him that.
No.
Anyway, man, week 8 of the NFL season. It's crazy. We've flown by. The season has gone by quickly so far.
The halfway point.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts at the old halfway point so far of this season?
It's flying by like crazy. I feel like the first year that they did that they expanded to a 17-game season, it felt like it took forever. Now, since then. Right. It's like it just flies by. I can't believe we're already 8 weeks in. Like it feels like we just got football back, but yet we've had it for 2 months. Yeah, weather's changing, leaves are changing, leaves are falling. Things are starting to look dead outside. It's getting darker earlier. Yeah. We got to turn our clocks back Sunday. It's not going to be fun. I mean, in terms of what my thoughts, I think this has been a very interesting season. A lot of things that we thought were going to happen, but at the same time, there are just a lot of surprises on teams that ended up being horribly bad that we did not think so. I like the Browns. I mean, but I don't know. The Browns have some life. We'll talk about them. And obviously my former favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, being even worse than what anybody anticipated.
It's been brutal.
Yeah, man, it's been a very interesting year, but hopefully this is the year of the downfall of the Joneses. Let's go.
And there's been a lot of upsets and a lot of strange games, I think, too. I know we've talked about it week after week, but it seems like every Sunday, maybe not as many this weekend to talk about in that respect, but there's always a game or two where you're like, this is weird. Like, this probably shouldn't have happened. I guess there was one this week, which we're going to cover right off the bat here. But, dude, I agree completely. I think, gosh, the season's gone by fast already. It's crazy that we're, next week is technically past the halfway point. So once we get past that, we'll be we'll start talking about the playoffs.
I can't wait for them to get back to an even number. when they finally
Yeah,
do
I'm not a fan
eventually
of
decide
Deion.
to get back to 8 to 18 games and 2 bye
Me too.
weeks.
Me too.
Because this odd number thing, I'm not a
I
fan
hate it.
of it.
Yeah, I hate it too. I'm not a
It
fan.
just doesn't feel right.
Right. Yeah, it's really weird. And it just feels weird to say 17 weeks, 17 games, but I guess there's technically 18 weeks, but yeah, with that, I will quit yapping. Let's get right into this, Carlos. So we had some interesting games over the weekend. Probably the most surprising upset of the weekend and maybe of the season to this point. The Cleveland Browns at home take down my Baltimore Ravens 29-24. Cleveland played a great second half. We're going to dive into this, I'm sure. This is a game that Jameis Winston he just absolutely went off on this Ravens secondary in this game and had a career game. For a guy who hasn't started an NFL game in 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't show this. You cough, I cough. He didn't show a bit of rust in this game, in my opinion. And this Browns team just looked rejuvenated. It's really strange. I mean, it's you know all the bad stuff that's happened with this team, with the drama with Deshaun Watson, all the money they paid him. He gets hurt last week, obviously season-ending injury. In steps Jameis Winston, a guy who's been around the league, who knows a thing or two, and who's been a pretty solid backup in this league. So it makes sense that he would come in and fill this role. But, man, I didn't expect him to have the kind of game he did. And, yeah, this Browns team all of a sudden just seems to have like a new rejuvenation, new life possibly. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the Browns, Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, like in trading away Amari Cooper, it seemed like they were pretty much done.
Throwing in the towel. Yep.
That they were just basically throwing away. And I mean, they could still be basically conceding this season. I mean, they are very behind the 8 ball. The chances of them making the playoffs are slim to none at this point. But I think this kind of proves the point that a lot of a lot of people in the media have been saying, is that this team under Deshaun Watson just looked lifeless, just looked uninspired. They and the fact that they were not letting the head coach make a quarterback change, because that's what a lot of people were saying, is they were saying that this was definitely coming from ownership because of the fact that they have guaranteed him so much money, a fully guaranteed contract. You can't bench him. No, you have to try to get something out of your investment, which ultimately led to Deshaun Watson getting injured again. I don't think he's ever had a full, complete, healthy season since getting to Cleveland.
I don't think so. Nope.
And with all that being said, I mean, a lot of people wanted to see what this team would look like under Jameis Winston. Right. It's so crazy that these two played against each other, that those two quarterbacks played against each other in college.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the old Clemson, FS, Florida State, back when Florida State was actually a powerhouse type days. Yeah. And Jameis has had an interesting career path. He was drafted to Tampa, then Brady comes to Tampa, so then he moves on, goes to I believe he went to New Orleans, right? Yeah, he went to New Orleans for a few years, and then I don't remember where he was last year.
I'll have to look.
He might have still been in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I think he came to Cleveland this year.
Yes.
Yeah, because last year Flacco was the backup.
Flacco. Yep, just those 3 teams. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So he's had an interesting career path and never really had necessarily the opportunity to be the guy. Well, I guess he did kind of in New Orleans, but New Orleans at that point was kind of a mess, and they still are a mess. Look at how they still are.
Right.
And I'm not saying Cleveland's any better, but at least Cleveland's got some more, I guess, decent weapons and a better offensive mind running that team. So yeah, I mean, I think they looked very, they were definitely a lot more inspired on offense, which obviously inspired the defense, because the defense has still been trying to play to the level that they played at last year. But, when you go out there and you're making all these stops, but then your offense isn't doing much, and they're just constantly going out there, eventually you're just going to get tired
Right.
and just not really feel like playing. That unit's not doing anything for me. So like, why am I still trying so hard?
That's a great point.
So in term, I think it inspired the defense to make them play, this Baltimore team so much better. And yeah, I think this looks a lot. I think things look a lot better for Cleveland right now, just because now they don't have that weight of we have to play this guy, even though he's playing terrible. Now they're like, okay, we can play a guy who's actually going to effectively inspire and run this team. And I think that's a good thing because Cleveland they've been down in the dumps.
Yeah. It's been a long road for them, and it feels like fans. I'm not going to say fans are going to start, because we know there was a mass departure with that fan base when all this Deshaun Watson stuff happened, and I think fans have been calling for this for a long time, for there to be a change at quarterback, and I'll just be curious to see if there's more interest now around this Browns team, even though they're probably not going to win a ton of games. You're right about that. I mean, they're still the Browns. I mean, let's face it. But no, I think Jameis Winston just gives him that energy, man. You can see it in the way that the players react. His pregame speeches, which are not the most inspired things always, but I think
kind of cringy.
Yeah, but I think it's part of his charm. I think he sort of gives off that goofy, sort of fun-loving kind of energy that the teams enjoy. So, but no, he just had a great game. And of course, playing a banged-up Ravens defense definitely played to his advantage, and a lot of bad scheming and play calls that the Ravens had. I'm going to touch on that here. For the Ravens, this was a typical trap game. I mean, you look at the two teams on paper, there's no reason this game should technically be close. When you're talking about the Ravens coming off a huge win against the Buccaneers the week prior, where they dominated really on both sides of the ball from start to finish. This looks like a runaway game where they can come in, they can take care of business, they chalk up another win in the division. They still haven't played Pittsburgh yet, so I'm getting more and more concerned about
which
that.
Somehow is becoming the biggest matchup in this division. I'm surprised. I really thought it was going to be the Bengals, but
so did I. They've been disappointing this year for sure.
They have for sure.
It's just crazy, but yeah, but it wasn't, and you got to give the Browns credit. They weren't fazed by the Ravens' record or the Ravens' intimidation. One of the more impressive things I think in this game was the Browns' defense being able to slow down Derrick Henry and only holding him under 80 yards. Now I know he only ran it 11 times, I think was what the number was. So the Ravens, once again, I mean, we talked about it last year in the AFC Championship game. We've talked about it earlier this year. They kind of abandoned the run in this game, and they put the ball in Lamar's hands, and I think he still played well. He didn't really do anything that was, ridiculous to me. The other thing with this offense was the drops. They had 3 or 4 drops in this game, 2 of them for big first down yardage that, ended up being punts late in that game in that second half. So, just to summarize, they just weren't sharp in this game, and the Browns seemingly had an answer on the offensive side of the ball every time the Ravens seemed to come up short. So they got to get healthy on defense. They were missing 2 defensive linemen, 2 guys in the secondary, Marlon Humphrey being one of those who had a fantastic game on Thursday night with 2 picks. That was a big loss. I don't think his injury is too severe. I think they just wanted to rest him for this game, which makes sense. You don't want to take a chance on that.
Well, also, again, it's Cleveland. Who was going to think that they were going to,
Right.
But at the same time, that might have been a mistake, thinking, underestimating your opponent.
Very true. Very true. I think one thing about this game, too, is, it seems like every team, every Super Bowl contending team, which I don't know if you put the Ravens in their current state in that still. I think you might. I'm not sure.
I think you still have to because of Lamar, right? You have to because of Lamar and Derrick Henry. I do agree still with the whole they do abandon the run a lot when things start getting rough, but at the same time they put themselves in a position where they have to.
Right. That's a good point.
And that's why they made that key trade today in getting the wide receiver from Carolina. What's his name again?
Deontay Johnson. Yep.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson.
Former Steeler. Yep.
Former Steeler, now Raven.
It's really,
crossing
really
enemy
crazy.
lines.
Man.
Enemy lines.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, making that trade because he's a very reliable pass catcher. He was, you watch his clips from, he was a guy that a lot of Chiefs fans wanted Kansas City to get. In terms of when you were looking out there, and at first Kansas City was saying all this stuff about not wanting a receiver over 30 years old, and knowing Kansas City's not going to give up a high draft pick, they were like, okay, who's the guy that you could foresee you can actually get for a mid-round, or a late day 3 draft pick. This was a guy that people were looking at because he's on Carolina. Carolina's not doing anything. They would love more draft capital in Carolina. Try to get him. So he was a guy that a lot of Chiefs fans were looking at and showing clips of. And so, the fact that you guys got him, it's going to help tremendously in your passing attack because
totally.
I still don't believe in Bateman for some reason. Bateman is really he has not convinced me that he's a reliable NFL wide receiver. He's had a lot of problems staying healthy, and then a lot of inconsistency. Sometimes he plays very well, sometimes he's playing very awful. That drop, I guess you could kind of credit it to the sun, but at the same time, it's like, dude,
right in the chest and right in the helmet.
It's I don't feel like you have
excuse.
to. You have
excuse.
to. And I just think you guys need more weapons, wide receiver wise, and I think that's why I don't think this trade hurts at all.
True. True. Good point.
So, yeah, I feel like that's a good way to address, and that's why I feel like you guys could still be considered Super Bowl contenders. Also, there's a lot of motivation to try to get there, obviously, with what happened last year.
Yeah, definitely.
But
always want that
trial and error, man. It's trial. Thankfully, this was in the regular season. Thankfully, it's early in the regular season.
Yeah, it's only week 8.
All in all, the Ravens will not be getting the 1 seed. We all know this because of the fact that they lost to the Chiefs in week 1. So even if Kansas City slips up and loses a couple games and say they end up with a tied record, they
still own the tiebreaker. So
they still own the tiebreaker because we beat them head to head. So for right now, the main focus of Baltimore should be, let's make sure we win the division. Let's make sure we get a good, good placement, because honestly, the 7th seed, whoever the hell it's going to be, is going to be an awful team.
Yeah.
And you don't want the 5th or the 6th seed, because that's probably going to be a good team. The 5th seed will probably be Pittsburgh, if I had to guess. And yeah, so I'd rather them face these trials and these failures and stuff now
than in the playoffs.
Then even at the end of the regular season, when there's not really time to make a move.
When you're
luckily you were able to make a move. Defense is still an issue, though.
Yeah.
If there is a way to get where's Jadeveon Clowney right now? He's playing for. So I can't remember what team he's playing for, but if there's a way that you could
get him
trade for him,
we gotta get
him back, it would be tremendous. The pass rush needs some help. Obviously, the secondary needs a lot of help. It is, and of course we're preferencing this with the fact that, like you said at the top, there was your top 2 defensive backs were injured.
True.
But still, even when they're
Eddie Jackson.
Healthy, even when they're both in, it's still kind of rough. There's still a lot of issues.
Yeah.
And with the way that the top 2 contenders in this division have, again, the Bills got Amari Cooper, the Chiefs got DeAndre Hopkins.
Right.
And the Chiefs still have help coming back. Hollywood Brown should be back by the playoffs.
It hurts.
Yeah, so it's that is where I feel like
you got to match up.
I feel like that's where the focus needs to be.
Yeah,
I think they need to go find a defensive back somewhere, whether it be a trade or I don't really know who's out there in free agency that would make a difference. I don't think there is because they would have already signed him.
Yeah, that someone would already gotten him.
So there's some work that needs to be done in Baltimore to make them like the top dog, but I still do consider them Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, that's fair enough, and I think you make a good point that they're getting sort of these trials and tribulations now. Like you said, I think at the end of the season it becomes more difficult too because it's a grind and teams get worn out, and the last thing you want to do is go into the playoffs losing 3 of your last 4 games or whatever the case is there. So you want to go in with a positive way forward. So I think the Ravens are going to want to do that. But you're spot on about the defense. The pass rush to me is another thing I was going to mention. It's just non-existent right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing they had last year that was made their entire defense so stout, was just being able to get pressure on the quarterback consistently. And they, like you mentioned, they lost their best pass rusher too. Funny enough, the Carolina Panthers. It's really odd.
No, that's right. I knew he was on a bad team.
They seem
so
to
I was
go to
like,
the Panthers.
They all went to the Panthers, man. And it's
so
just
weird.
like, if there's a way to get him back, if they can make another trade with the Panthers, they got to pull the trigger because he was so effective with the Ravens.
He was great. And he freed up the linebackers to do what they do, and then the secondary was able to go get a lot of turnovers and interceptions as well. So that's kind of how it is, man. It's been tough for their defense right now. It's just, they were winded in that game. They were just out of breath, and it was not good down the stretch because the offense wasn't doing any favors either, going 3 and out and struggling down the stretch.
Not closing out the game. Another issue that they have to figure out is, because this is a constant trend.
This has been a
not
problem
closing out the game.
Right.
It's not even. It's just. It's just in the past 2 seasons. It's just been a consistent issue of not closing. Even like again, think about. You just go back to when they beat Dallas. They let Dallas come back into the game and almost beat them.
That's
and they had a huge lead in that game. That is something that the Ravens need to figure out what is happening to them when they get a good, decent lead, why they blow it at the end and why they can't close it out.
Yeah. And I think I've said this before. It kind of falls back on John Harbaugh, like taking his foot off the gas, being conservative, whatever you want to call it. It's the head coach's job to say, we need to keep our foot on the gas. We need to keep it going. I saw from another game this weekend, Sean Payton got into it with it was a player from I forget what team the
from
Broncos
Carolina.
were playing.
From Carolina. Yeah, it was from Carolina.
For running up the score when they were up by 2 touchdowns. I'm like, that's not running up the score. Like you don't understand.
You don't like it, stop us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just because we're up big, we are not obligated to stop.
Exactly.
So if we stop, it's because we're being courteous. But honestly, I like that killer instinct of like, that's what I'm saying. I like the killer instinct of, hey, if you don't like this, stop us, but we're not going to stop. Like we're going to keep going because we have to learn to keep our intensity level up.
Right. Like we have to, and it reflects on the team as well. Like, hey, we're not going to lay down and let them get back in the game or just knee or, do whatever to,
just try to run out the clock.
Like we need to stay aggressive. So,
yep.
That's kind of, that John Harbaugh needs to have that mentality, and I don't think he does. And I think it's been a problem for the Ravens for more than just these last couple seasons. It goes back quite a ways to I would say back even when Joe Flacco was quarterback. So, those are my thoughts on the Ravens. I think too, Justin Tucker again missing a 50-yarder and missing it short.
He's having an off year, man. It's really bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, they might have to start in the offseason looking for his replacement possibly, because it just looks like he just doesn't have it anymore.
What I'm wondering, because could it possibly be he's got an injury that nobody knows about? Because in 2 seasons ago, Harrison Butker, he like twisted his ankle the first game of the season. And he was not he was just not the same for the rest of the year.
Right.
And then coming into last year, he came back to his normal form, and he's been at his normal form since. So I'm wondering if maybe there's an injury that nobody is talking about. because it seems very odd that this guy who's been Mr. Consistent for years is all of a sudden doesn't have it. But then again, that is kind of how it happens. It just hits you. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and especially when you reach past that 10-year mark, because he's been kicker for 12. This is 12 years, I think, or 11 years. So he's starting to get to that point. But I mean, we've seen a lot of kickers go several years after. So I don't know. I think you have a good point there. I don't know if anyone's asked him about that. I'd be curious to see if any reporters or anyone's asked him about that. He might just give a nonchalant answer of like a lot of NFL players like to do, where they don't talk about it. So it could be something. Maybe he aggravated it. Maybe he had an injury last year. Maybe he re-aggravated it this year. I don't know. It's just something's different. Something's off. But this could turn out to be a character building moment for the Ravens too. It seems like every Super Bowl contender has these kind of games where they slip up and they shouldn't have. Last year for Kansas City, it was that game on Christmas against the Raiders.
Yep, and we haven't lost since.
They have not lost since. So
we have not lost since.
I'm not saying that's going to happen with the Ravens. I'm just saying, it's kind of a motivating factor in these types of games. So to help build for the rest of the season. So with that, we will get off this game. A win for the Browns, 29-24 there in Cleveland. The Browns improved to 2-6, and the Ravens fall to 5-3. With that, Carlos, we are going to turn it to your Kansas City, and let's do it together. You ready for this? No, I'm just kidding.
Are we not going to break? I thought we were going to break.
I figure we do this one, and then we hit the break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs, Carlos, they keep winning. They find ways to win every week. And to me, the summary for this game, in my opinion, is Mahomes and Kelsey starting to look like their old selves again. They're starting to find that mojo together that we have been saying. We've been asking, where is that they've had in the past? So I will throw it to you, Carlos. A nice win over the Raiders, a close win, but Kansas City finds ways to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what the Chiefs do, man. And again, I just can't stress enough how incredible this defense is. It is absolutely insane how good they work as a unit. Multiple injuries on in the secondary, and it still feels like they haven't missed a beat. We lost Nazi, in this game. He went out with a concussion. So we're down basically to our fifth option at cornerback right now. And we still have McDuffie, so we're fine. As long as we have McDuffie, we'll always be okay. And we have Justin Reed, in the back also. But yeah, man, I mean, for them to basically, have two goal line stands back to back. And yeah, like the way they, especially that one after the interception where, I mean, you have the interception, then you have that horrible penalty on the punt. And when I say horrible, I don't mean like it was an awful call. It was like, what the hell are you doing? Like on Connor, I believe it was the guy who did it. And for the Raiders to basically, start, deep in Chiefs territory on both those drives and only get out of that with 3 points.
It's crazy.
Was great. It was great. It was great. Now, granted, again, it's the Raiders. It's the Raiders. It's not like they're a special team. They don't have special players. I mean, they don't. But again, one of the drives started at basically the 3-yard line, and they still couldn't punch it in. And it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Patrick Mahomes, like you said, he showed he wanted this, and obviously there's a lot, the Chiefs Raiders rivalry, while in terms of competitiveness of like record and stuff, yeah, it's not there, right? But in terms of like what it means, these two teams really still don't like each other.
Right.
And the Raiders
way.
are still irked that the Chiefs won in their stadium last year or in the last Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then we all know about the training camp thing of one of the Raiders players got the Mahomes or the Kermit the Frog Mahomes puppet and, you know, said some things.
Oh, yeah.
But as you can see, man, the Chiefs are all business right now. They are focused on history. And you saw Mahomes' reaction to that. He's like, look, that'll get handled when it gets handled. But even in this game, they didn't even make it about that. They didn't even, you could tell there was nothing about that. It was look, let's just get the win and let's get out of here. Like this team, like who cares? You know, they can talk all they want, but we're after something bigger. You know, so, and that's what really I think is scary to the rest of the NFL is like, hey, these guys are not phased. Right. Look at all the injuries they've sustained, and they're still undefeated. They're still playing. Patrick Mahomes playing the worst he's ever played, and they're still winning. Travis Kelce, Travis Kelce.
You have the best player on the planet. Best player on the planet. He had a great game.
Finally, Travis Kelce gets his first touchdown of the season. Let's go.
Yes.
13 games without it. 13 is Taylor's lucky number. Makes sense.
That's right. That's right.
And yeah, man, it's incredible. It's truly incredible how this team is able to overcome all these obstacles and all these trials and tribulations, and they suffered a lot last year. So that's why I feel like this year, all this stuff, it just doesn't faze them because we went out and won the freaking Super Bowl on our worst possible season, So it's like, hey man, like this is freaking nothing. We've been here, we've done this. Let's go. And there's a lot of people who still are expecting the Chiefs to be this high-powered offense and score 50 points a game because that's how the Chiefs used to do things. But honestly, this is a defensive team, man. And DeAndre Hopkins, he had, he was very effective in the minimal plays that he was in. He only had 2 catches, but man, once he finally learns more of the offense and finally gets more playing time in this, he's going to be such a problem. And it's not even just that. It's also, it's going to free up Travis. And of course, I said, we have reinforcements on the way. We have Pacheco eventually coming back, which is going to relieve something from Kareem Hunt, who has been playing exceptionally since we signed him.
He's been great.
I mean, just a complete second life coming back to Kansas City. We will hopefully get Hollywood Brown back, here at the end of the year and going into the playoffs. I truly, I don't know, man. The Chiefs have played such a tough schedule, and the fact that they've come out undefeated is who's going to beat this team. I mean, I truly believe we're probably going to lose to the Bills because we always lose to the Bills in the regular season.
It's true, but you beat them when it matters.
I think, of course, we always beat them in the playoffs. I think Houston may pose. I mean, they did just lose Stephon Diggs, which sucks.
Good point. Good point.
But they will be motivated to come out. There's got to be a dumb loss somewhere. So I think there's a potential for 3 losses here this season.
Okay, 3.
But it's really hard to find them. Like I said, I can find one. I do think we will lose to the Bills, especially now that they got Amari Cooper, and the Bills have been playing very well. But I do think it's going to be tough for any other loss to come by.
Yeah, and like you said, it's like the hardest part of their schedule is over too. So like you kind of have to like put that in the rearview mirror and see that holy crap, they're still undefeated going through that gauntlet that they went through to start the season. I'm just impressed with the defense and just with the job that Steve Spagnuolo is. He just dials stuff up, and it's like it seems crazy, but it works.
Just knows.
It just works consistently.
It's like he knows what's coming.
It's like he knows what the other team's going to do. It's crazy.
It's like there's this weird period at the beginning of the game where like the offense has success, but that's just him downloading the data of what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And after that first drive, you're gonna get nothing really after
Yep.
that. Like he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna know exactly how to attack you. It's nuts.
We've seen that play out in almost every game just about this year that the Chiefs have played in. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's the turnaround. I mean, they had a solid defense last year, but I think just how dominant they've been this year is what is most impressive.
I will say, I think the defense was, I feel like, a lot more dominant last year. I mean, we had L'Jarius Sneed.
That's true.
And we had
big players. Yeah.
Like we had but the fact that like we lost a lot of key guys.
It's a young defense now. It kind of is.
I mean, we were always a young defense. I mean, think about how we won the Super Bowl. We won it with a bunch of rookies on, on defense. You know, our defensive backs were literally all pretty much rookies or like second-year players or whatever. And for them to just find that no matter what, like they're still. I mean, you lose L'Jarius Sneed, and then it's just like, hey, like it still feels like we didn't lose anybody.
Right.
You know, and then you suffer all these injuries this season to the secondary, and yet they're still shutting everybody down. It's crazy, man.
And it's there's something about Andy Reid coach teams as well where it just seems like they may stumble.
You mean the guy who's tied for the most wins in Allegiant Stadium?
Yep.
He's tied with Josh McDaniels, and he only plays there once a year.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That is so crazy. That's a crazy stat. Oh my
it's
God.
Nuts.
But just how locked in the team is when it matters most is just most impressive to me. And it's they never seem to have brain farts or moments where you're like, what's going on out there? And again, this reflects on what Andy Reid has done. It reflects on the coaching job that he's done, and just kind of what he's built there in Kansas City. It's just impressive. It's already a dynasty, but I think certainly if they win this year and they get the three-peat, which will be history, we've never seen that before. It's official. I mean, it's official. So,
I mean, he would be, that might put him completely over Bill Belichick because of the fact that. I mean, you could. I mean,
it's
six,
hard though because Bill's got 6. Yeah.
Well, Bill technically has 8 because he has 2 as an assistant coach.
True.
You know, but yeah, I don't know, man. It's really hard because like I think it strengthens the case that you can make for Andy Reid as being the greatest coach because of the fact that they did something that even Bill's teams couldn't, like Bill Belichick's team couldn't do. You know, they had an opportunity to repeat.
He's taken 2 teams to the Super Bowl. I mean, he did it with the Eagles as well. It didn't go well, but you know, he also got the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Which
I mean, he got the Eagles to the Super Bowl, but like, I don't know, man. It's really hard to make the case.
It is tough. It is tough.
Like Andy would have to get 7 for you to be like, he's the greatest.
Right. If you're talking about sheer volume, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, but it's another win for Kansas City, another notch in the belt. It's crazy, man. They just find new ways to win. Like I said, Mahomes and Kelsey, they look like they've gotten their mojo back, and like you said, there's more reinforcements coming. So that's a warning.
Reinforcements are on the way. We just have to hold on. We just have to hold the fort. And again, at this point, you know, undefeated at this point in the season, like they can coast at this point. They can go 500 from here on out.
True.
And they're in the playoffs.
And they're still fine.
They're going in the playoffs because let's see, we're at the halfway point. They've already had their bye week. So they're at Chiefs are 7-0, correct? Or are we 8-0? We're 7. Yep. Yeah, 7-0. Yeah, 7-0. You go 500 from this point. Well, I guess one more game. I don't know. Yeah, well, you're going to the playoffs at 12-5 or 13-4.
You're golden.
Like, you're golden. Like, so they can literally win the next either 5 games or 4 games and lose the next 4. You know, lose another 4 or 5, and they're still probably going to be the 1 seed.
Yep. I don't see anyone challenging them for the 1 seed at all. Because really, to me, I mean, I guess you could say Buffalo, but I don't know. I don't know about Buffalo.
They only have 2 losses.
It's true.
But
they're one of those teams too. They have a slip up or 2, so they'll come down the line.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen has been playing very good this year.
He's had a special year.
He has been. He's been great. Very safe with the football. He finally threw his first pick this week.
which is nuts.
Like,
Took him this long.
I'm really impressed by Josh Allen. I'm not going to lie to you. He is playing phenomenal football, despite the fact that the team got rid of so many of his weapons.
I know,
because they couldn't afford them. And
look at him.
I mean, but the weapons that they got to replace those have been playing solid. And of course, trading for Amari Cooper was fantastic for them. Yeah,
totally agree with that. And it's going to be great help for them going down the line too. It's going to be interesting.
I can't wait for that game. I love Bills Chiefs games. They're so fun. It's so fun.
It's going to be another Hollywood story. It always is every time those two teams get
together,
whether it's
man,
regular season or playoffs, man.
I love it. I love it.
It's always an instant classic. So, awesome. All right, man. So with that, we will take a short break to hear from some sponsors here. We'll be right back to the Kirby on Sports Podcast, episode 212.
For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com.
Hey there, Kirby on Sports Podcast fans. Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate here for you. Remember, if you have any real estate needs, buying or selling, I'm your guy. I would love to help you out. And you can also find me on my own personal podcast, Iconic Talk, where you get a chance to learn about the local real estate market and why Winchester is an amazing place to live. Reach out to me anytime, 540-247-1527, and find Iconic Talk anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Thank you very much to our sponsors. I will make sure to thank all of them at the end of the podcast, of course. And Carlos, he's not here to talk about his team.
He's not here, but he's here somehow.
He's here. His spirit is here. So we're going to dive into
spirit of Josh Kirby haunts us.
That's a scary thought that I don't think I want to think about again forever.
Oh, man.
So we got to talk about this game a little bit. So the Commanders pull off a stunning last-second Hail Mary upset, and they take down
They almost blew it. They almost blew it.
Man, it was a wild game. But
listen, the amount of saves Kirby had during these pick'ems is extraordinary. Like, he literally, like, he won two of the games he picked. Like, that he won at the very last second, and I was sitting there like, yes, finally, the implosion we've been waiting for is here. And then somehow all those teams saved him.
It's like the hand of God reached down and said, "Nope, not."
Said, "Nope, we're not letting him finish in last place this time." Like, damn it,
man. Yeah, it was it the Cardinals game too that I think he and I both picked the Cardinals, and that one was
and I was the one who picked
intense.
the Dolphins. And I was like, yes, once again I've done it, and then the Dolphins blew it.
The Dolphins totally choked. It was crazy.
And then this was another one where I was like, I had and I was just
the Bears.
Just I don't know what happened, man.
This game was weird. It was it was
actually like a really bad game.
Yeah.
A really bad game, a really epic ending.
Well, it was like there was no offense for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden I think the Bears finally scored the first touchdown late in the third quarter, and then they scored late in the fourth
Swift run,
which is nuts. It took that long to score, but it was kind of a showing of special teams and defense throughout most of this game, and FedEx Field was certainly gifted
Northwest Stadium, sir. Northwest Stadium.
I'm so locked into the other name.
Northwest Stadium.
25 years. But anyway, they were treated to one of the most exciting endings, the most exciting ending we've seen thus far in this half point NFL season, just about, give or take.
Yeah, there we go.
But I don't have much else to say about this game. I want to let the man who's making an appearance for us now.
Yeah, should we bring him on?
Bring him on. Let's see what he has
let's
to
bring
say.
him on. All right, let's bring him on.
Do it. He's loading.
That I could not be on for the full episode today. I had some stuff come up, some prior commitments, but Dan and Carlos, they're here. They have your back, providing you the best content right here on this episode of the Kirby on Sports podcast. I did just want to hop on for a few minutes just to talk about the Commanders' victory over the Chicago Bears. And my goodness, what an ending. Just looking at how that last play developed. And the play before that where Terry McLaurin got a chunk yard to set up a closer shot at a Hail Mary. Jaden Daniels launches it up after 15, 16 seconds running around, heaves it after a tip from a player who was taunting the crowd when the play snapped. He tipped it, and Noah Brown came up with the football in the end zone after that tip. Perfectly well executed. That is what all coaches in the league do not want, is for you to tip it up. You must bat it down. But it worked out in the Commanders' favor. And the victory like that, it was absolutely incredible. Don't get me wrong. I think a moment like that in front of the home fans at Northwest Stadium, it's just a fact that the Commanders are starting to make football fun again. Over the past couple of seasons, the Commanders have been going through a new ownership change, new regime, new head coach, and it's starting to show that it's really fun to watch football again. Around this same time last year, the Commanders lost to the Bears 40-20. It's sort of like they rolled over and died. In the Ron Rivera era, this game probably wouldn't have resulted in a Commanders win. Granted, I will get to all the previous stuff in just a second, but this Hail Mary, it just sent shockwaves through the fan base. And looking on social media, people immediately going to the team store buying Jaden Daniels jersey. That's what I saw from Grant Paulson 1067 on X. And just the emotions around this fan base have boosted because of what happened this past Sunday in an electrifying victory against the Chicago Bears. So from that, it was incredible. I mean, for real, I almost got kicked out of my house. I'm going to be completely honest after seeing that that Noah Brown caught the football and the Commanders won the football game. And it's just too much to put into words. And it's one of those plays where I keep watching the replay and it never gets old. So Yeah, that's where I'll leave that. The Hail Mary was great. It was incredible. It was exciting. But it was one of those moments I'll never forget as a fan. In our fan base, this is going to be one of the one of the plays that we will remember throughout the course of this season and hopefully maybe longer. So, again, Washington, the Commanders are making football fun again to watch in Washington after all the years of misery. I'm going to go back previously to a point Carlos brought up that the Commanders still have not defeated a good winning team. I mean, the Buccaneers week 1, it showed that the Bucs were looking pretty stellar. Now starting to fall a little bit downhill besides the point. And the Ravens, which in my mind are a Super Bowl caliber team. Yeah, I mean, the Commanders played them well, but the Ravens just had more weapons, which isn't a bad thing. It's a great test for this Washington Commanders team. So going back to before the game, Jaden Daniels getting tested. He had a rib injury last week in the win against Carolina, which I was at. Marcus Mariota took over. Jaden Daniels was good to go, but it seemed like throughout the game, the offensive production just wasn't clicking, wasn't the same. If it wasn't so-called penalty, if you will, because there were some questionable calls in the game, just in my mind. But Jaden, it looked like Chicago's defense was sort of pressuring Jaden, and it looked like sometimes he was feeling the ribs. Maybe I know there was extra padding, but for the most part, the offense I wasn't really too impressed with. The defense for the Commanders looked really good. For Chicago, I'm not sure what took them so long to get the offense clicking on all cylinders. It just seemed like the Commanders' defense was coming up with every stop there, but Caleb Williams started off the game slow. We have Caleb Williams in the game, 10 for 24, 131 yards. So the last drive, the second half in general, the Chicago Bears seemed to take things up a notch, which, I mean, the halftime adjustments, I guess, but the first half alone for Chicago just wasn't really good. In the Commanders, obviously, a couple calls not going their way. Zach Ertz had a so-called touchdown catch that was ruled incomplete, confirmed that the ball dislodged. You have that, points left off the board. A penalty screen pass, I believe it was Olamide Zaccheaus, I think, if I remember correctly, that got called back. I believe it was a legal man downfield, but that play was executed perfectly. But, the penalties there, kicking game for Washington minus one field goal that Cyber just got a little bit too under it in my mind. But other than that, making the field goals, but still, it seemed like there were points that were being left off the board. So defensively, I like the defense a little bit more, but the offensive production, I think, I don't want to say Jaden wasn't 100% because if he wasn't 100%, I don't think Dan Quinn would have started him and Marcus Mariota would have had this game starting for the Commanders. But besides the point, all in all, the Commanders won. I am very happy, but the Bears ultimately had this game in the bag. You see that last drive, what Caleb Williams was able to do, the first overall pick in last year's draft. He was able to make some things happen, got pressured, threw one to the corner to DJ Moore, a great pass. Then across his body from one end of the field to the other, I believe that was DJ Moore as well, if not Rome Aduze. But anyways, they made some great things happen that last drive, and I thought the Commanders with one timeout just wouldn't have anything left, which it wasn't going to be a bad thing if the Commanders lost, but it's just a learning experience there if they took the loss. But then you have the final drive, Terry McLaurin, an out route, one timeout. You have a good drive going, and it all culminates up to 15, 16 seconds. You have Jaden with a lot of time, has time to heave a football up, and Noah Brown catches it, which made for an incredible night at Northwest Stadium. I bet you that place was packed. Everybody was hooting and hollering, celebrating after what everybody witnessed at Northwest Stadium. But, I mean, Jaden Daniels, 21 for 38 in a touchdown pass. The one touchdown pass was to Noah Brown, obviously. But, again, I hope they work on this week. Yeah, a more offensive scheme, getting some more production offensively, because I can't really pinpoint what it was, but it just seemed like the offense wasn't moving. And the offensive line, Jaden Daniels was getting pressured a lot, which I think Chicago was hoping for with his rib injury. But I'm glad Jaden got out of there all right. And defensively, again, the Commanders, they looked pretty good. But yet again, a lot of work that the Commanders need to focus on, as the Commanders are getting tougher opponents down the way. So it's going to be a true test to see. They have the Giants next week and then some tougher games, not to mention Philly coming up, etc. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But the Washington Commanders 18-15 over the Chicago Bears in what was an exciting roller coaster of a game. Those were my thoughts. I'm curious to hear what Dan and Carlos's thoughts are on this game. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you next week.
Oh, what do you say to that, man?
Wow. Those are a lot of thoughts. Those were a lot of thoughts.
I don't know if I can answer point by point. I'd have to think back to.
That was a lot. I mean, that was about like a 10-minute clip right there.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, like we said at the top, I mean, the game was boring. I mean, there's nothing that was like extraordinary. Again, a boring game with an extraordinary ending.
Yeah.
At the end of the game. So listen to this. Listen to this. Chicago's win probability from right before the Hail Mary was 97.9%. They had a 97.9% chance of winning this game, and they blew it. On an absolutely smart, the way that they executed that final drive to set up the Hail Mary, which was great. Even Romo was saying, hey, on this play, you don't go for it right now. You get a chunk play, you get out of bounds, and then gets you even closer, so you have a better shot of making it. But I think what this proves more than anything is you have to bring pressure on a Hail Mary, because either way, the quarterback has to give the receivers time to get down. If you bring pressure, you're going to get to him. You're going to get to Jaden before before the receivers have time to get there. And if he has to throw the ball quickly, you have guys that just you send like a group of maybe 5 guys to the end zone, and you say, hey, nobody gets behind you here. Okay. And so, like, yeah, sure, Jaden can throw it quickly, but guess what? They're going to get tackled before they get to the end zone. The notion that Matt Eberflus said after the game that the play before the Hail Mary was not important it just shows that he doesn't know ball, because then Dan Quinn comes out. And as you can see, the Dan Quinn effect. As you can see, the Dan Quinn effect. You see how good the Commanders are doing. You see how terrible the Cowboys are doing.
Yeah, true.
That he knows ball, and he's like, that's important because it sets it up, because that it makes it much easier.
Right.
And
you have to get in that
honestly,
position.
I thought the play was a bust, because I was like, oh, he's running back. He's at the freaking 30.
Yeah,
he's at their own 30.
He was running backwards, and it's like, oh man.
I was like, this is a botch. And then just what happened. And I was like, I literally sat there. I was like, oh, like I'm sick as a dog on my bed right here. And I'm just like, oh my God. I was like, that is nuts. Like I lost it. I was like, that's crazy. And then of course I get the text message from Kirby being like, Noah Brown's disappearing midway through the season, huh? I was like, all right, dude.
Yeah, he was.
I was like, it's week 8, kid. Relax.
Yeah, he was waiting. He was waiting to use that one.
He's been feeling himself.
He's feeling it on social media here.
He is feeling himself, man.
Oh,
this man. It really shows how little success this team has had. He doesn't know. I
was gonna say something similar. It's like he mentioned like, oh, we're gonna remember this win for a long time, and it's like, wow, this franchise really has been deprived of like playoff wins, and they haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years.
Iconic wins.
You can tell, you can tell because this is.
I mean,
a week 8 game is
think about it. Think about it, Dan. Think about it.
It's an unbelievable play. It's an unbelievable play.
It's an unbelievable win, but man,
also a great throw by Jaden Daniels.
I mean, when you really think about it, though, it was short. it was tipped to the guy.
It was. I mean, you're not.
But listen, he's got the rib injury. I really do. I believe that if he didn't have the rib injury,
it affected him.
Yeah, I think if he didn't have the rib injury, he could have slung it all the way to the.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. But think about this, Dan. Think about how many iconic wins you have witnessed, and say the past 3 seasons, or scratch that. Let's say the past 4 years, right? Since 2020. I mean, I could easily go back to 13 seconds. Right. Chiefs Bills. I can go to Chiefs Bills last year. I can go to the Super Bowl. I can go to so many games. That's why I'm like, iconic games don't affect me as much because I've witnessed so many of them. Whereas unfortunately with the Commanders, they haven't witnessed a lot. So listen, it's an exciting time for that fan base, man. Nobody was really expecting them to be this good.
Right.
And they're playing well, but it's like he said, they haven't beaten anybody good.
Right.
I mean, when I go and I look at their upcoming schedule, as I pull it up real quick.
You're good. Take your time.
Yeah, as I pull it up. Sorry, not ready for this one.
You're totally good, man.
Okay. Yeah. So as I go and pull up their schedule on who they got coming up. So they got the game against the Giants, obviously next Sunday.
Easy.
They do have a big game against the Steelers.
Yeah, that's gonna be
and
tough.
Then they got the big game against the Eagles. They play the Cowboys, but let's be honest. I really don't see the Cowboys beating this team, mostly because Dan Quinn knows the Cowboys better than anybody.
He knows Dallas. Yep.
They got the Titans and Saints, who they should beat. They got the Eagles and they got the Falcons again. They got the Eagles again and the Falcons. The Falcons will be tough. The Eagles will be tough.
The Eagles will be tough too, right?
And then they close the game out against the season out against the Cowboys at AT&T Stadium.
It's a pretty favorable schedule. There's a couple of tough games.
I don't know, man. Let's see.
But I don't know those divisional games. You just don't know in the NFC East. You just don't know.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 9 games left, right? I can see them. They're going to beat the Giants again.
They shouldn't.
I don't think they beat the Steelers. I don't think they beat. I think they're going to split the Eagles.
They split with Philly.
I think they split with Philly.
Right.
I think they split with Dallas. I have a feeling like they're going to split with Dallas. So that's
right.
So right now that's 2 and 3, right? If my math is correct.
I think so.
Is my math? Yeah. No.
Yeah, divisional games. Yep.
Yeah. So, well, no, hold on. So they beat the Giants. They lose to the Steelers. They split with the Eagles. They split with the Cowboys. So that's 3 and 3.
3 and 3. Yep.
That's 3 and 3 right now. They're going to beat the Titans.
4 and 3.
They're going to probably beat the Saints. So that's 5 and 3.
Yep.
I say they lose to the Falcons. So they're probably going to go 5 and 4 down the stretch.
Yeah.
Which will put them at, what are they at right now? They are currently 6. No, I think they're 6 and 2. They're 6 and 2. Right. So that'll put them at 11-6.
It's really good.
Pretty respectable.
That's really good.
That's
and
pretty respectable.
No one expected this team.
And
to do that.
I think they make the playoffs. I think they make the playoffs. Do they make noise in the playoffs? Probably not.
But considering where they were last year and where they've been in the past, it's a huge improvement. But I totally get the excitement around this fan base, and it's cool to see that stadium so lively and everyone excited. Just as someone who's kind of been a secondary Washington fan my whole life, in a way, growing up in this area and stuff like that, and knowing a lot of Washington fans. So, but yeah, it's an exciting time. But I did have to chuckle a little bit when he was like, "We're gonna remember this game for a long time." I'm like,
he's feeling himself so much. It's like, bro, like you guys didn't win the Super. You guys beat the Bears. This team beat the brakes off of you last year, and you guys almost blew it. Like this, like they were dominating the Bears for 3 quarters, basically.
Yep.
And it wasn't until the fourth quarter that Caleb Williams finally came alive. I don't know what was going on with him.
It was 12-0,
but he finally comes alive. And honestly, the Commanders got lucky. They got lucky because
they did.
I mean, you got to think about it. The Bears should have actually been up by even more because they had that big fumble at the goal line because they tried to give it to the freaking lineman, which was an idiotic play.
Yeah,
I don't know why they tried running something like that.
Yeah.
So you have that you have that. So they fumble that, but then the Commanders don't do anything with it. They let the Bears come right back down and score. And again, it was a miracle that they won this game because any other team would have known how to stop this. But luckily they got one of the dumbest coaches in the NFL, Matt Eberflus, and who doesn't know how to set up a freaking proper. I don't think they practice that situation at all because how do you let Noah Brown get behind you? There should never be anybody behind you when you do that stack. You should always have somebody. Every player, somebody behind. Yeah, everybody should be in front of you. There should never be a Commanders player behind you. And once again, don't tip it, bat it down like my hat.
Yeah, that's they teach you that in Pee Wee football. I mean, it's funny to me too. The guy who batted the ball up is sitting there,
taunting the
around with the fans in the stands. Right before that, the Bears fans are like, turn around, and then he gives up. He bats up the ball and calls us the big play.
And and he's the one who let Noah Brown behind him.
What a clown!
Stay locked in, engaged. You can't let it happen. And yeah, man.
That's why they say, man, when it's till the clock hits zeros and it's till the final whistle blows. You can't
until the fat lady sings, man.
That's it. That's the old saying.
Oh, yeah.
What
that's
a
all I got
game.
For this game. Honestly, it was a weird, terrible game with a great ending.
It was sloppy for sure, and there was definitely a highlight of special teams until the third and fourth quarter when both offenses finally were able to get some points. But man, it was a weird ending. But credit to Jaden Daniels and the Washington offense for setting it up, getting down there, and then Jaden Daniels for being able to get that ball close to the end zone. Like you said, he did come up like 2 or 3 yards short, but tipped up, and sometimes
landed perfectly.
Better to be lucky than good, man. It's better to be lucky than good.
Hey, man, sometimes that's what you need, man. You need a little luck on your side.
That's it, lady luck, man. You need it. It's always out there. So, Commanders get the dub, 18-15. We will take another short break. We're gonna come back with our vaunted NFL pick'ems for the upcoming Week 9 action. Carlos, take it away.
You may have heard the saying, it's not if your home will get termites, it's when. At Barrett Pest and Termite Services, we're doing our best to refute that saying one home at a time. Our thorough inspections and treatments are designed to keep your home or business termite-free. Termites cause $5 billion in damages every year. A preemptive inspection is one of the best ways to keep that from happening to you. Because once you see evidence of termites with the naked eye, you can be sure they've already been at work for some time. Put a stop to termites and the damage they do by calling Barrett Pest and Termite Services 540-340-3922. Barrett Pest and Termite Services 540-340-3922.
It's Jason, General Manager at Shenandoah Music, here to tell you all about...
Jay, what are you doing here?
Well, Matt, I'm trying to tell the people about our selection of guitars, basses, keyboards, drum sets.
I know that, but I always do the radio spots.
You get to have all the fun. I want to tell everyone about our huge selection, unbeatable prices, unmatched service, and in-depth knowledge.
Jay, I really don't think now is the time to discuss.
So remember, folks, when you think music, think Shenandoah Music in Winchester.
That's my line.
Welcome back, everyone, and we are on our way to our Week 9 NFL Pick'ems with the three-man booth. And just want to thank, of course, off the top here, our sponsor, Anthony's Pizza, home of the Warrior, who is our special sponsor this season. Reminder, you can pick with us this week. On Facebook, you will see this graphic posted. Make your picks with us. See how you do. The person with the most correct picks wins a free large cheese pizza from Anthony's Pizza, home of the Warrior. With that, terms and conditions apply. Carlos, this has been a whirlwind, but we're gonna get through this.
We got to power through here.
Let's jump in, man. Let's get right into these picks this week.
All right, so welcome to the Week 9 Pick'ems. Yep, Dan is in first place at 32-16, regain his 2-game lead. Me and Kirby are tied in second place at 30-18. A great week for Kirby. He was able to close the gap, and then good week for you because you were able to get your 2-game advantage back.
What was do you have my record from last week? You don't have to if you don't know off the top of your head. It's not
well, you went. I believe I can't remember what you went.
It's no.
I'm not
deal.
sure. Anyways,
I was just curious.
I can't remember it off the top of my head.
I had a winning record.
Anyways,
I know that much.
Yeah, of course. So, anyways, the games we'll be picking this week are the Bucks and the Chiefs, the Packers and the Lions, the Dolphins and the Bills, the Bears and the Cardinals, the Cowboys and the Falcons, and the Rams and the Seahawks. I will go first, of course, as your reigning, defending, two-time Pick'ems champion. I will take the Chiefs over the Bucks because I'm contractually obligated to, and I was gonna, I'm gonna pick them anyways. They're just the best team in the NFL. I will take the Lions over the Packers. We don't know yet if Jordan Love is going to play in this game. This game is in Green Bay, so that gave me a little pause. But I just think right now Detroit is playing at an unbelievable level, and Green Bay is playing very well too. Even without Jordan Love, they look pretty good. The way
very true
they've gotten Malik Willis to play like a competent quarterback is crazy.
Nuts.
But I just think right now the Lions are just. I feel like they're just the team of destiny to get out of the NFC. So I think they're going to want to make a point against the Packers. I'm going to take the Bills over the Dolphins. The Bills they're just playing so great right now. Like I said earlier, Josh Allen is playing fantastic. And I just think the Dolphins still have a lot to work out in terms of the time that Tua missed. And I think they're still trying to regain what they kind of lost in that time that he was gone. I will take the Cardinals over the Bears. I just think the Cardinals have been sneaky good this year. And I don't know, man. Caleb Williams didn't show me much against the Commanders. So it's kind of hard for me to think that he's going to show up against the Cardinals. I'm going to take the Falcons over the Cowboys since I'm no longer contractually obligated to take the Cowboys. The Cowboys are an abysmal franchise right now. They look freaking terrible. And the Falcons are playing great ball. Kyle Pitts came alive on National Tight Ends Day. Oh, did we forget to mention that? Yeah, Sunday was National Tight Ends Day. As if you didn't hear from the 50 million freaking commentators. It was National Tight Ends Day.
Who decides these things? Who decides this?
Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce decided this one. Anyways, I will take the Rams over the Seahawks. I think with the Rams getting all their weapons back, I think they're going to try to make a push here to try to get to the playoffs. And I just don't really think the Seahawks are really that great of a team.
Yeah.
And that beatdown that they got from Buffalo at home was embarrassing.
Brutal.
So with that, we'll send it to your guys' favorite number 2, Dan Dembski.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that. And the host of today's podcast, I must add. So yeah, I'm rolling with the Chiefs as well over the Bucks. They're just on another level right now. They'll find a way to win this game. They'll probably find a new way to win this game that they haven't found yet this season. That's kind of what they tend to do. So I'm going to take the best quarterback in the NFL in this game. So give me Patrick Mahomes. Give me the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Lions over the Packers. I agree with you, Carlos. Lions are just on another dimension this season. It's crazy to see just how well they have followed up last season's success with this season's playing even better, I think, at this point. And living up to the hype that I think we all kind of set for them to start the season. So I'm going to take the Lions. I will take the Bills over the Dolphins. This is kind of an easy pick for me this week. I just think the way Josh Allen has played, the way the Bills have just played as a unit, and now getting even better on the offensive side of the ball, it's only going to help them more. So, and like you said, Carlos, the Dolphins are a mess right now. Still trying to figure things out with Tua coming back, but they're just sort of a mess on both sides of the ball. So I will take the Buffalo Bills. My upset pick of the week. I don't know if you could call it that because they're both similar record-wise, but I'm going to take the Bears over the Cardinals. I think the Bears rebound this week. I think Caleb Williams comes back and has a bounce-back game against a Cardinals defense. I don't know. I think the Cardinals defense is average. Definitely think and know that Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense has had a fantastic season to this point, and it'll be a test for the Bears defense for sure. But I think the Bears bounce back. They keep it a low-scoring game. Not as low-scoring as their game against the Commanders, I don't think, but hopefully not, at least for the viewers' sake. But I'm going to take the Bears in the upset pick of the week over the Cardinals. I'm going to pick the Falcons over the Cowboys. This is also kind of an easy pick. I think Kirk Cousins comes out and has a great game against a really struggling defense in Dallas. I think he just comes out and has a really great game, and the Falcons are able to pull away late. And then finally, I will take the Rams over the Seahawks. I just think the Rams right now are playing better football. And Seattle, they don't impress me. And like you said, Carlos, they're coming off getting blown out by the Bills, and the Rams are just playing more consistent football. So those are my picks for this week. I'll go ahead and read Kirby's picks real quick. So he is.
Yeah, he's a 3-time loser. Who cares?
Yeah, you can read it right here. It's right here on screen, and it's on Facebook, by the way. Again, make your picks with us.
No. We got to read it. We got to read them.
I thought we could skip it.
We'll
read it. We'll read it. So Kirby is going to take the Chiefs over the Buccaneers. He will take the Lions over the Packers, and he will take the Bills over the Dolphins, same as Carlos and I. He will take the Cardinals over the Bears with Carlos. All three of us agree. He will take the Falcons over the Cowboys. And then his differing pick this week, he will take the Seattle Seahawks over the LA Rams. So those are Kirby's picks. And that does it for the Week 9 Pick'em. Like I said, pick with us. You could have a chance to win a free large cheese pizza from Anthony's Pizza, home of the Warrior. Again, if you're smart, you'll pick with me. I've been winning the last few weeks, so come on. Have a chance, have an opportunity to do it.
But if you want to win the whole thing overall, you pick with me.
Right. You're right. Historically, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there.
I know. I have two championships to prove that.
All right. So that about wraps up episode 212.
God, if people only knew what we just went through.
Oh, man. Of the Kirby on Sports podcast. We hope you all enjoyed. Kirby will be back on, God willing, for next week's episode. And hopefully things will not get as interesting as they did this time around, for sure.
If only the people knew. If only they knew.
If only they knew. Carlos, any last words before we sign off on this episode of the Kirby on Sports podcast?
We're going to go see the Ravens Bengals next week.
That is right.
Thursday night our yearly 3-man booth football game.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be talking about that for sure. It's gonna be a fun time. So, with that, Carlos, thank you so much. This was a fun episode, very interesting for sure. Episode 212 of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Let me thank all of our sponsors before we skedaddle here. PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, Transformative Alignment Group, Mark Francis with Icon Real Estate, Barrett Pest and Termite Services, Mark Lynch with Guild Mortgage, Shenandoah Music, and last but certainly not least, Don't Sleep Energy, the official energy drink of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Visit don'tsleepenergy.com or amazon.com/shop/don'tsleep to use the promo code KOS podcast. Get 12% off every order, every time. And with that, we will close out. Always remember to create greatness. And peace out.